Happy Jesus Day. I hope everyone spent the time today with friends and family and had a great time. This is Flagship Radio, and I'm your host, Greg Carvajal, but call me G. Today's episode 1, we're going to be talking about hashtag poop protest, tax reform, and aliens. Tune back in about 20 seconds for the breakdown. That is Frozen Egg by Lame Drivers from their Flexibook EP. And so we're going to be talking about, as I said already, the hashtag poop protest, tax reform, and aliens. So anyone who saw the news this morning was probably greeted with a pleasant headline about Steve Mnuchin, which is the U.S. U.S. Treasury Secretary, receiving a box full of manure at his residence. Kind of an interesting story, something you don't really see that often. It turns out that the person who sent the box full of manure is Robert Strong. He's an LA resident. He's a psychologist, actually, by profession. The box that he sent to Steve Mnuchin had a card in it, and this is he posted a picture of it on Twitter. It says, "Mr. Mnuchin and Trump, we're returning the gift of the Christmas tax bill. Warmest wishes, the American people." Funny story. So he actually, told the media, he's like, this is everyone's tired of seeing angry protesters. I'm just trying to switch it up a little, do something that's kind of funny as well as a protest. So really, I guess he got a bit creative. I don't know. This is interesting though, because I feel that anyone who sees this, so if you're a Trump supporter and you see this is a moment where you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is exactly what the liberals would do. It kind of plays into their narrative a little bit. But more details about the story that I found interesting was the several media outlets reported that. So first of all, the Secret Service and LAPD are both investigating the matter. They wouldn't officially comment about who was responsible for it, which didn't make any sense because at the same time, this quote was circulating around. Apparently, a Secret Service agent questioned Robert Strong when they went to his house and for questioning, and he asked him, the Secret Service agent asked Robert Strong, "Are you ashamed of your behavior?" I mean, I don't know what they hope to accomplish at that point, because anyone who sends a box full of manure to a federal official knows this is going to become a national headline. It's like your dad, asking you like, "Oh, are you ashamed of your behavior, son?" Like, this is such a ridiculous thing for a Secret Service agent to ask him, Robert Strong, because Robert Strong at this point, he's not going to get in trouble. He didn't break any laws. Obviously, anytime a public official gets a mysterious box at their door, the first thing that goes off in everyone's mind is a bomb threat, or some kind of terrorist threat. That's understandable. But once that was not a problem anymore, and that was clear, I just think it's funny that the Secret Service agent decides to ask him that, like, "Are you ashamed of your behavior?" Like, it's just a silly question. No, I don't think he's ashamed of his behavior. I think that he knew what he was doing, quite obviously, and that's his form of protest. And with these matters, obviously, they're not going to comment officially, but even though everyone knew at this point who was responsible, it's just, again, like, you see this bureaucracy at work where they just won't comment who did it, even though everyone knows who did it. That's just how the how the government works for you. So this tax reform bill, though, that was obviously the subject matter of Robert Strong's, we'll say, creative protest. Now, the bill is called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The administration has been, and the GOP in general, they've been, touting this as a major victory for the middle class. This is their selling point. It's that the American people, the average worker, is getting a tax break. That this is, as Trump was saying, this is his Christmas gift to the people. So this is their selling point. And the issue that people have with this is that it's a lie. I mean, it is truly dishonest because it's not at all what it really is. When you look at the numbers, first of all, the Tax Policy Center, which is a nonpartisan think tank, all right, they analyze this tax bill, and they release their final analysis. If you go on their website, it's taxpolicycenter.org. You go on the website, you can see this information for yourself. Overall, what the analysis shows is that this is a tax bill that overwhelmingly favors the wealthy and corporations. And this isn't really a surprise to anyone. And first of all, the tax cuts all amount to $1.5 trillion tax revenue that this is going to, or not going to raise, essentially. But look, breaking it down though, the average American is expected to save $1,600 a year at first as a result of these tax cuts. So, credit where credit is due. I guess it's a good thing, right? But then these tax cuts expire, for the average worker by the year 2025. So in 8 years. Once we get to that point, 80% of the benefits are going to be going to the top 1% of earners. And, but even if we look before then, so let's say, okay, well, that's, 2025. What about, the $1,600 a year at first? Isn't that a good thing? Like I said, sure. But even in the beginning, most of the tax cut is going to the wealthy still. What we're going to feel immediately, or what's going to happen immediately, I guess. Well, the person in the top 1%, is going to get an average tax cut of roughly $50,000. $50,000. So that's obviously a massively different number than 1,600, and it really just pales in comparison. Who needs a tax cut more? You think about that. I mean, Trump at his Mar-a-Lago resorts, Trump was telling his buddies, and this was circulating in the media. He told his rich buddies, they said, "You guys just got a huge tax break. Yeah, I just made you guys, richer." So anyone who really thinks that this is surprising, of course, just hasn't been paying attention. But this is clearly the agenda of the GOP since day one. When they get their way, of course, they're going to cut taxes. The majority of the taxes for the rich. The other issue with this is there's a lot of details within the tax bill that are really it's complicated, but I may do a follow-up episode doing that. We'll see, as I don't think this is going to go away as something in the news anytime soon. But that's what we're dealing with on that. So of course the other thing that's been pretty interesting in the media lately was last week there is a story that broke out in New York Times. Essentially, the Pentagon had a secret program. This program was called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. It was created by the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2007 at the request of Senator Harry Reid. And Harry Reid basically has connections to Robert Bigelow. He's a billionaire who's really interested in deep space, business development and that kind of thing. A little bit like Elon Musk. And he also does have an interest in extraterrestrials. And he's on a record talking about this. Now, the person in charge of this program, by the way, and this program ran from 2008 to 2011. officially ended in 2012, but kept going off the books. $22 million program, and the person in charge of this program was Luis Elizondo, and he's a military intelligence official. Now he came out when this story broke out and talked about it. He actually resigned in October, this October of this year, and over basically frustration over the a lot of the red tape that exists, a lot of the secrecy that exists around this phenomenon, the UFO phenomenon. And his talking point is actually pretty interesting. I mean, if you listen to his interviews, essentially he has said that his personal opinion is that these, I believe he calls them unidentified aerial threats, he's convinced that this is something that's, first of all, this isn't from any other country. This isn't an intelligence secret craft that's being developed or anything like that. This is, from somewhere else. That's what he said. And I mean, I think it's really interesting that someone who's respected and, has a lot to lose. I mean, why would Elizondo lie about this? This ties into Tom DeLonge, who started the band Blink-182 but left the band in order to pursue the UFO phenomenon and get to the bottom of it, full time. He started the To the Stars Academy, which is a public benefit corporation with the explicit purpose of revealing all this stuff about UFOs and aliens to the public, and particularly the technology aspect of it, and unleashing that potential for humanity. Not to mention the entertainment aspect that there is to it. That's part of it, To the Stars. That's kind of Tom's edge there. Creating creative content that, gets people's minds really thinking about this stuff. And Tom DeLonge was saying a couple of years ago how there was this program, essentially. He was talking about how this program, this Pentagon program that we now know existed. He was proven right. So I think it's important because people were kind of writing him off initially and saying how he wasn't really he's off his rocker or something. And totally get why people would say that, but I think he is definitely onto something. The evidence is clear. He's been proven right. And not to mention that the people that he surrounded himself with to create To the Stars are some high up people. I mean, we are talking intelligence officials from all the alphabet soup government agencies that are dealing with this stuff, military, ex-military, intelligence, all over the place. And all these people are coming out and they're saying that, hey, the government is interested in this technology, is interested in the UFO phenomena, and these people are saying that from what we've seen, there's no way this is from this earth. I mean, there's just no way. There's no other country that we know that has this. The U.S. government itself doesn't have this technology. There's something else. And again, I think that's super fascinating that this is coming out. I think that makes that the year 2018 a particularly exciting year in terms of what we can look forward to on this front. And who knows, maybe next year will be the year of something big about this stuff. And I know people have been talking about, disclosure's coming, every single year, just like the end times people who say that every year is going to be the end of the world. But this is real stuff here. Whatever this is the real deal. If there is a time where we can expect something like the disclosure, happening, you have to follow this, what's happening with Tom DeLonge to the Stars Academy, because if that were to happen, it's going to happen through this. And we've seen these revelations already with the Pentagon program and these, high up officials putting their credibility on the line to say that, hey, this is something to take seriously. So definitely would be looking out for that. Anyways, this concludes the first episode. Definitely tune in for the next one, where we will be breaking down the news, and we'll be having more of a time slot to get more in depth with things. And thanks for tuning in. Bye.